I never would have guessed that this truck would be lasting as long as it has so far. Backflip. Whee! Oh, and there's our broken wheel.
Hey, it's Vass here from Aussie RC Playground, and welcome to my review of the ZD Racing Pirates 2 1/8 scale almost ready to run monster truck, and my ZD Racing Pirates 3 1/8 scale ready to run monster truck. Now, a bit of a disclaimer here before we get stuck into this review. First and foremost, if you want to know a little bit more detail regarding these trucks and the specs of these trucks, I suggest you check out the video description. I'll have links in there to the Banggood website where you can go and check out all the specs of these trucks, as well as links to the unboxing videos, and that'll sort of bring you up to speed on everything that you need to know regarding these two vehicles. Now, the other thing that you need to know is that both of these were sent to me from Banggood. So yes, I did not pay for these trucks. However, that's never stopped me from giving you my honest opinion on any vehicle I've reviewed here on the channel, and I hope that these two are no different. Now, before we get stuck into the review, I do want to give you all a little bit of perspective, because the last time that I ran the Pirates 3, there were a couple of comments saying that, you know, what do you expect for the price that these trucks are? You know, they're going to break. They're so cheap, they're going to break. Well, here's the thing. Here in Australia, these trucks don't translate to being very cheap. So I know that in other parts of the world, your perspective is going to be a little bit different. I understand that, but I do want to try and make you understand where I'm coming from and how I express my disappointment for something like this, given what it costs us here in this country. Because I can't review a product based on where you live, because I've got audiences all over the world, but I can only do it based on where I live. So please try and understand that, you know, if I'm referring to a product being, you know, it's a little bit expensive, or it's, you know, this is really cheap, it's really affordable, I'm referring to where I can get it from. So to try and put things into a bit of a level playing field here, for those of you that don't know, I'm going to give you some prices. These are all in Australian dollars. So please, this is not in American dollars or whatever other currency there are out there, Canadian dollars or euros or anything like that. These are in Australian dollars, okay? So the Pirates 2 almost ready to run. Now, I got these prices. I put the trucks in my cart on the Banggood website, and this includes shipping and GST and all the taxes and all that sort of thing, okay? So just so that you're aware. The almost ready to run truck, as you see it, of course, without the Badlands, no electrics in here. Here in Australia, as of the time of filming, this truck retails for $386.44. So that's actually not a bad price given what it is. But you know, if you have to go out and buy electrics for this, it's probably not going to be that worth it unless you can find some really cheap electrics. However, if you have some motors and ESCs lying around the house, if you're already in the hobby and you just want to sort of muck around with this thing and see what it can do, and you're not planning on overpowering it, I do not recommend overpowering this. So you want to run it maybe on a 3 cell or maybe a 4 cell and just leave it at that. You know, this might be a worthwhile little investment. The Pirates 3 ready to run monster truck. Now this one's quite expensive. This one is $663.42 delivered to my house. Now that is quite an expensive machine for it to fail the way that this one failed. So for those of you who were criticizing me about, you know, complaining about how it broke the last time I ran it, try and understand that this is actually an expensive truck here in this country. The Pirates 3 almost ready to run. So if you can get this one in the same spec as this one, so no electrics, this one's $452.68 delivered to the house. So for some reason, this one's a bit more expensive than this one, even though it's essentially the same truck. I mean, they've included a wheelie bar. There's a bigger bumper, which essentially broke anyway. But it's very much the same sort of vehicle, so I don't understand. I mean, it comes with bigger tires, but the tires aren't necessarily better. I don't know. It doesn't make sense that this one is, you know, what, $70 or $80 more than this one. But it is what it is, okay? Now, to put that into perspective, how does it compare to other vehicles here in the country? You know, if we're talking about an e-Revo or something being, you know, $2,000, well, then this is a bargain, all right? Or a Creighton being $1,500. and this is very cheap, Creighton 6S. But that's not the case. The Creighton 4S ready to run here in this country is around about $650. So the Creighton 4S is cheaper than this, okay? The last time we had it at Metro Hobbies, which is where I work, we were selling it for $599, ready to run. Now granted, the current line of Armour cars has a very crappy radio, and that's probably one of the things that you're gonna need to swap over anyway. That's whatever, that's fine. We can criticize that, but still, think about the durability of this thing. You know, if all we have to do is change a radio out on those cars, put it into perspective now, it didn't really perform very well. The Rustler 4x4 VXL, for those of you playing at home, $650 also, give or take. All right, that's what this retails here in the country. Again, these are in Australian dollars, and these are cars that you can pick up from the local hobby shop, okay? So you might get them on sale, you might get them a little bit cheaper, you might not get them on sale, you might get them a little bit more, whatever, but they're around about $650. The T-Magic E6, which is the truck that's kind of above me here. This is the Raptor or the J-Star, they're both the same money. It's $750. So imagine, for less than $100 more, you could have a T-Magic E6 Raptor, which will absolutely annihilate this thing, even on 4-cell. It's a beast. Why would you bother with something like this? Where is the value in this? And I think we're going to go through this in the review, and I hope that when you see the scoring that I gave these trucks in the review, it kind of makes a little bit more sense. So these are just a couple of examples. I was going to list a whole bunch of other cars, but let's not talk about them. I want to talk about these, and we're going to kick this off with the electrics. Now for the electrics, I actually didn't give a score for the Pirates 2 purely because it comes as an almost ready to run, and I don't think it'd be fair for me to score my own choice of electrics because it would be a little bit biased. And of course, there's probably about 1 million different combinations of power systems that you can have out there. So for those of you who might be curious, however, and you want to know what I used in this truck, I had my old TTX 300 radio that I got from Tower Hobbies from way back in the day when Hobbyco was still alive and well. This one, you can see, has a silver steering wheel, which was an independent radio. I think I actually got this before any of the Axials or Armours started including them in their kits in the V2. So this is actually quite an old radio. I had it lying around without a home, so I put it into the truck. And some may say that it's probably too good to use in this truck. As for a steering servo, I had a spare servo from my Sen Reaper, which is a big monster truck. I figured if it was the servo was good enough to use in that big truck, it should be plentiful for this one, and it actually didn't work too bad. It's a little slow, but it's got plenty of torque. The motor was from my old Hobby King Sabertooth. If you can remember when I did the review for that car, I actually sold that car to a mate of mine as a roller, and I had the motor rolling around in a drawer for a very long time. So I figured I'll throw it in here and see how it goes. It actually performs pretty well, especially on 4S. I got some pretty good speed out of this truck. Now, lastly, the ESC is actually an RC Gear Shop ESC that Tower Hobbies used to sell many years ago. It was actually a rebranded 120 amp Hobby Wing ESC, and it actually works well paired up to the motor. So I got good power out of this truck and it performed very well. But again, I didn't really give this one a score because it was just random electric components that I had a spare here at home. For the Pirates 3, however, I gave this one a 3 out of 5. And I was very tempted to only give it a 2 out of 5, but aside from the battery being completely useless, I'm actually disappointed that I changed out the connectors on this, because I've tried to charge this battery maybe half a dozen times, discharging it, charging it, and yeah, I just can't get this thing to balance out properly. And it's not always the same cells that are out of balance. So I'll have one cell, like let's say it's cell number 1, which will reach 4.2 volts. The other 2 are falling behind and they take forever to get up there, and they won't get up there. I'll discharge the battery, start charging it again, and then cell number 3 will make it to 4.2, but then the other 2 won't make it there. And it's forever annoying, and I've never actually used this battery because I can't get it to balance out properly. So I don't even know what milliamps this is, to be honest with you. It's just included in the car. I think it's supposed to be a 3,000 or 3,500 or something. Who knows? Who cares? It's rubbish. So that's why I get a point deduction there. The steering servo, they claim it's 15 kilograms. It probably is, but it's incredibly slow, like painstakingly slow. People complain about the armor servos all the time. Seriously, drive one of these, let me know how you go. You will appreciate the armor servo very quickly. So this steering servo didn't really do it for me. The other thing that kind of let it down was the lag in the ESC. It could be a combination of the ESC and the radio. The radio that this came with is actually this one, which I think some people have said is actually pretty good. You can get these from Banggood for like 35 bucks Australian or 40 bucks. These are pretty cheap. They actually don't feel too bad and they're pretty well equipped, but I don't know what the reliability of something like this will be. I didn't have any issues with mine, and you know, maybe this could be a good alternative for those of you wanting a cheap fix for you know, a radio that you want to replace. I can't think of any one radio off the top of my head that I've been reviewing recently on the channel that you would want to replace. But yeah, that's really why I give this one a 3 out of 5. Power overall wasn't all that bad. On the Banggood website, it was claiming to be somewhere between 80 and 90 kilometers an hour top speed, but there were no spare pinions included or anything like that, or speed charts. So I presume that you'll need to change out the gearing on this truck to be able to achieve those speeds. But I got nowhere near it. I think I got mid-70s or something like that for this one, top speed on 4S, not with the included battery, obviously. So that's where we're leaving these ones for the electrics. No score for the Pirates 2 and a 3 out of 5 for the Pirates 3. Now for drivetrain, of course, this is all got to do with gearing and drive shafts and bearings and things of that nature. Shock horror, I actually gave both trucks a 5 out of 5, and this is probably their saving grace. This is the highlight of these trucks. Now, in fairness, I haven't used these trucks extensively because things have failed or I've ran out of time and what have you, but during the half a dozen runs or so that I've had with these cars, I've had no issues with drivetrains. There's no dog bones popping out, there's been no diff noises, there's been no exploded spur gears or pinions or anything of that nature. It's actually held up very well. So, you know, it's probably the highlight of these trucks at the moment. I can't really knock it. What am I going to knock it on? Nothing went bad with my drivetrain. That's not to say that everyone's experience is going to be the same, but at least for me, I had a pretty flawless experience with the drivetrain on these, and that's why I give it a 5 out of 5. So for handling, I actually gave both trucks a 3 out of 5. And I guess my reasoning for that is that, you know, both tires, the tires for both trucks really wasn't the best. The rubber feels a little bit strange. They probably would perform quite well on some muddy terrain because they have this motocrossy, massive lug type of design, so it will really dig into the dirt. But on gravel surfaces or in even grass, especially short grass, or anywhere where it's a bit dry, these things would struggle with grip a little bit. I was slipping and sliding all over the place, and they don't even grip that well on road either. So tires kind of let these ones down a little bit. I think a better tread design would suit these cars a lot better. I had much better success with the worn out set of Badlands, to be honest with you. They handled a lot better on both of these vehicles. And as far as suspension tune, they weren't too bad. The Pirates 2 probably fared a little bit better for some reason. I don't know why, but that seemed to handle a little bit nicer. The Pirates 3 was sagging a little bit in the back. I did experience a little bit of a donkey kick here and there, so I don't know. I think all things considered, plus the slow steering servo on the Pirates 3, I think a 3 is a pretty good score. You know, these trucks jump pretty nicely through the air, but you do need to sort of keep your wits about you on the throttle because you don't have that 6S power to be able to recover all that quick. You'd be better off coming off a jump with a bit of extra power on and have that nose up attitude, because it's a lot easier to bring the nose down than it is to bring the nose up when it's got a momentum going down. So that's probably the only thing you sort of need to be aware of when jumping these things. I felt like if I gave these a 4 out of 5, it was probably pushing a bit too close to the good when there could have definitely have been better, and giving them a 2 was probably being a bit too harsh. So I think a 3 is a fair score. I'll leave it here. It's a bit on the fence, but hey, you know, these are what they are. Now for durability, I gave these cars slightly different scores. For the Pirates 3, I only gave it a 2 out of 5. For the Pirates 2, I actually gave it a 3 out of 5. The Pirates 2, I had a little bit more good luck with it. I didn't have as many things go wrong. However, I still managed to break one of the wheels on the Pirates 2. Some people did warn me about these wheels snapping and so forth. This is really disappointing to have a truck that costs as much as this does, and to have this sort of thing happening where the hub just completely snaps off. Now, in all fairness, this was on a jump. It took a bit of a bad impact, and yeah, it snapped the wheel. So you can almost forgive it. Almost forgive it. Wheels should not snap like this though. If they're decent quality wheels, they shouldn't break. Wheels on an RC should not break. The last time I had wheels breaking on an RC was the Habao Hyper SST, which was the truggy, and that actually broke on the rim itself, not the hub. But these ones are breaking on the actual hub itself. The Pirates 3 was even a worse result. The entire hub snapped clean off, and that was just on the cartwheel. It was really disappointing to see. I mean, I think I had taken some jumps prior to that and everything had gone okay, but then I switched out to 4S. I tried to do a wheelie, the thing cartwheeled and snapped the wheel clean off. On top of that, I had one nose landing. I completely disintegrated the bumper, and the plastics on this thing feel really brittle, feel a little bit like charcoal. You can probably cut bread with them, to be honest with you. Just not very good quality plastic. So a little bit disappointing on the quality of these plastics. The body is also completely shattered. It's cracked at the front. It's cracked in the middle here as well. I'll actually show you this so you can see. So you can see where it's cracked there. It's cracked here as well. So snapped right in the middle, and there's more broken bits in the back, like the whole thing is cracked in the rear. So quite disappointing on the quality of the Lexan on this thing. The quality of the plastics overall hasn't really helped. And then of course I had that really bad nose landing where I completely buckled the chassis. So that's pretty much done. And I really don't know what I'm going to do with this truck. I think I might just use it as a parts donor for this one. But that's probably where I'm going to leave this one. I think the only saving grace on this is the drivetrain is half decent. The wheels will snap off on you. The body will crack easily. The plastic bumper is pretty pointless. It just disintegrates. Durability wise, you know, without intentionally trying to break these cars, just having the odd accident here and there, you know. One of the reasons why I don't do durability montages, because I know some people have asked me to do those in the past, is because as any driver out there will do, you know, you make the occasional mistake, and what tests a car's durability is when you try to recover from that mistake, when you are unintentionally landing really badly and you expect the car to take the hit somewhat, and sometimes things fail, sometimes things don't. The bumper snapping off, the way that it happened, it shouldn't have snapped and exploded the way that it did. I mean, yes, it was a nose landing, but it wasn't a huge jump. It was pretty standard, to be honest, especially for a car that's worth as much as this is and is the scale that this is. So the front bumper should have survived. The chassis bending, you could almost excuse it. I didn't intentionally try to nose dart the car. I thought it was going to make the downslope of the jump, and it would have looked awesome because it would have just landed and kept going. But I mistimed it, and it landed right on top of the jump. And yeah, that was the end of that run. Yeah, unfortunately, it does not survive. At the end of the day, you know, if you're going to drive these things, don't try to bash them as hard as some of the more expensive rigs. Run them a little bit more gently. Don't do big jumps. Try not to get too courageous with your jumps, because if you make a mistake, things are going to fail. It's as simple as that. The Pirates 2 did fare a little bit better. I did give this one an extra point, mainly because I didn't have as much bad luck as I did with this one. The body has still managed to hold up a little bit. But you know, I still had a servo failure, or servo saver failure. And the plastics are essentially the same quality as the Pirates 3, so chances are you're still going to have the same failures if things go wrong. I gave it a 3. I probably could have given it more, but yeah, I think it would be unfair to give it more, considering it's essentially the same truck and it's actually missing a bigger front bumper. It doesn't have a wheelie bar on the back or a rear bumper either. So there's not a lot of protection here. I think I've just been a little bit luckier with this one. I just drove it a little bit better, which caused it to perhaps not have as many things go wrong. So even though it's got an extra point, be careful. It may end up looking like this if you do make a mistake. So moving on to maintenance, which is probably a category I should change to setup or something like that. Maintenance is more about, the initial setup of the car. What sort of maintenance did you have to do to get these things up and running? Did you have to tune the shocks? Did you have to adjust anything on the car? Was the suspension bad? Was the body height wrong? Did you have to, change tires? Whatever the case may be, right? So for maintenance on both of these vehicles, I actually gave it a 3 out of 5. Here's the thing. You probably do need to reinforce these bodies to stop them from cracking. So that's one thing I'd recommend you do. The battery straps on both of these cars, they didn't improve on the Pirates 3. The battery straps are just wrong. They're the wrong size. You can't fit a normal 4S battery in here with the included battery straps. So you have to change out these Velcro straps to be able to fit a standard 4S battery pack. I actually had a bit of trouble fitting a 4S battery in the Pirates 2, and I ended up cutting the back of the tray just so that the battery could actually fit in here without any issues at all. I also put a strip of Velcro on the tray itself because it's kind of like a half tray. It doesn't hold the battery on both sides, so there's only a wall on the back, in the center of the truck, and then the rest of the tray is open, so it's kind of like an L shape. And then the Velcro does the rest of the work. So thankfully, I had some Sen Racing Velcro straps spare. I used some in here. I had some other Velcro straps I used in here as well, and the battery is actually secured pretty nicely. So that's one thing you do need to change out on these trucks. Reinforce the body, and just some minor toe-in adjustments as well on both of these cars I had to do a little bit of prior to driving them. Other than that, they're not too bad. They haven't been really engineered for quick diff changeovers or anything like that. So you may be digging through some plastic and some aluminium in both front and rear diffs if you do need to access those. But other than that, it's not the worst that I've seen. So, and of course, taking into account that you do need to change out those tires ASAP because they don't grip all that well. So I think a 3 out of 5 is a pretty fair score for both of these. Now moving on to part support, and I know that in some parts of the world, part support for ZD racing is very scarce, and where you can get parts, you're going to be waiting a long time to get them. Unfortunately, I can't score based on everybody's geographical position on this planet. I can only score these trucks based on my geographical position, and for the score on these, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. Now, hear me out here. I could have given it a 4, but I felt that was a bit unfair because the one issue that you always have if you only have one website where you can get parts from, or one website that has an extensive amount of parts, it kind of limits your scope to get parts in case that one place runs out. If you get what I mean, it's all being funneled through just one outlet, and that worries me a little bit. It was like that with Hobby King as well. You get a Hobby King product. A lot of the times it's exclusive to them. If they run out of parts, you're left holding your nuts. You got no hope of fixing that RC, whether it's a plane, a boat, or a car, because they're the only ones that can get parts for them. Now, sometimes you could source parts from other brands. Sometimes these sorts of things are available under a different name, and you can get parts, under Himoto or whoever, right? So you can get lucky like that, but I think with these particular products, they're pretty exclusive. There are a couple of other outlets out there that sell these products, so you might get lucky. But again, depending on where you are in the world, this could be a little bit difficult for you. For here in Australia, Banggood have actually got some pretty good part support on this. I actually checked their website. They do have a lot of the parts in stock as we speak. They have a lot of them on their inventory as well, some of which are out of stock, but I think it's not too bad. It's not too bad. It could have been worse. I have reviewed Banggood products in the past where parts are almost non-existent. So they'll sell the car, but they don't have the parts. In this case, they do have them, but I am a little bit worried about reliability of quantity, if you know what I mean. So I think a 3 out of 5 for part support is pretty fair given the circumstance and, again, my perspective and my geographical position. So closing this out, we're going to turn to value, and there's a pretty split decision here on value between these two trucks. For the Pirates 2, as an almost ready to run, I think a 3 out of 5 is actually a pretty decent score. You know, for what are they worth? $386. So for under $400, you get an almost ready to run 1/8 scale monster truck. Now, as I said, if you have to go out and buy electrics to fit in here, it's probably not going to be worth your while. But if you've been in a hobby for a while, like I have, and you've probably got some electrics floating around in a drawer somewhere or in a toolbox, and you're like, you know what, I could probably throw this into something and just have a bit of fun, and I won't overpower it, and it'll be something maybe for the kids to play around with, or just have it as a spare truck, just for someone to run, or whatever the circumstance might be. This is probably not a bad option. It's not the worst option. It's not the best option. Certainly, it's somewhere in the middle, and it really depends on, you know, if you just want something different from what everybody else has got, and you don't want to fork out big bucks. You know, it's not too bad. 3 out of 5 for the Pirates 2. For the Pirates 3, I gave it a 1 out of 5. This probably offers the worst value as a ready-to-run that we currently have access to here in this country. I mean, for what, just a few bucks short of $700, you're going to get a truck that's going to fall apart the minute you make a mistake. Parts, you're going to have to wait for them to come from Banggood, and that's of course if they have them. As I said, they do have a lot of parts in stock at the moment. That's not to say that that's going to continue long term. You do need to be wary of that. You've got a body that's going to fall apart fairly quickly. The wheelbase is not a standard 1/8 scale wheelbase, so trying to fit aftermarket bodies on here, it's going to be a little bit tricky because the wheel arches aren't going to match, so you might have to hack a few bodies and to make them work. Something to keep in mind there as well. Power system isn't the best. Servo is pretty much a throwaway. Battery is included. What for? It didn't work. Didn't balance charge. Wheels and tires, well, even if the tires were decent, the wheels are going to snap on you. So, you know, where's the value here? What am I getting? What am I paying $663.42 for? Just so that I can go and spend more money? You may as well fork out an extra $100, get a J-Star from Team Magic. Way better vehicle, bigger as well. You can get bodies for it, which you've seen. You know, I converted my J-Star with a standard, you know, Proline body on there, and it fits fine. You can make that work. If you get the Raptor, that's already got a nice body on there. It's got a Ford Raptor body, and the bodies on that are a lot more durable. They're a lot thicker as well. So just get something like that. Or if you really want to, you know, get something equivalent in a smaller scale, something that's only 4S, get the 4S Creighton, and that's, you know, actually cheaper and far more durable, far better part support, and faster than this as well. So I really don't see a reason why you'd want to get this truck here in this country. Let me be clear on this. I'm speaking from being where I am. I know that in other parts of the world, this could be an absolute bargain. I think in US dollars, this is something like 300 and something and change. So it might actually be a half decent deal for what it is, as long as you don't go overboard with it. But for here in Australia, it's just, I don't see the value in this truck. So why should I score anything above 1? And that's pretty much where I'm going to leave this review, to be honest with you. I hope I haven't confused you too much. I hope I've been pretty clear cut on my decisions here and why I've given the scores that I've given. Now, for those of you, of course, playing at home for the Pirates 2, this one gets a 20 out of a potential 30. Not 35, because I didn't score for the electrics. So that equates to a 66.66%. Which isn't too bad. It's slightly above average, all things considered. So there's some good points here. There's some pretty bad points in this truck as well. So take it as you want. I've given you all the information that I can give you. It's up to you whether or not this is something that's worthwhile buying. For the Pirates 3, this one gets a 20 as well, but out of 35 because it does come with electrics. And that puts it at 57.14%. So that is barely a pass. As I said, the only saving grace here is the drivetrain didn't fail apart on me. But there's a lot of things on this truck that I would be quite concerned about. Part support, durability of plastics and so forth. The body falling apart, all these things that I've covered in the past. So, I don't know. To me, and of course value, you know, when you look at what you're paying, don't know if the score tells the whole story, but for me, I would stay well clear of the Pirates 3. That's just my personal opinion based on my experience with these vehicles. I hope you enjoyed this review. Please be sure to check out the video description down below for more links to both of these, both to the Banggood website and of course to previous videos that I've done for both of them. And don't forget to check out my social media pages as well if you want to follow me outside of YouTube. Thank you all very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I'll be speaking to you all next time.